Hello everyone. Welcome to Mr. Scott Reads Tales and Stories. Today's story is Why the Cricket Chirps by Daniel Errico. More stories by this author can be found at freechildrenstories.com.
Hi guys, Mr. Scott back again. I've got something different for you today. I hope you will like it. I've got a story called Why the Crickets Chirp, and it is written by Daniel Errico, and he's provided me with this story and allowed me to animate it somewhat for you guys. So let's start out. He's provided me with this story and some imagery that he's painted and drawn to go with the story. This is kind of a cartoon story. I think you'll like it. At least I hope so. I like stories like this that try to explain things. They're interesting. Well, our story starts out. Before there were seasons, the cricket could fly. He flew faster than the bumblebee. He flew higher than the falcon. And he flew fancier than the flying marmot duck, who was quite a fancy flyer. The cricket had flown all over the world. He flew to the east, then he flew to the west, and then he flew to the south, but he had never flown north. The ant tried to warn him that he should not try that. "It's very cold up north," said the ant. "Too cold for an ant and way too cold for a cricket." Well, the cricket, however, did not listen, because crickets do whatever they want to do. They're bad for that. Sometimes we need to listen to other people, right? He sets off for the north that very night. It did not take him long to get there because he was such a fantastically fast and fancy flyer. The cricket landed next to the pine tree as the sun began setting. There was snow everywhere he looked. There was snow on the trees. There was snow on the ground. And there was snow on top of the mountains. The moose came walking over to him very slowly and said, "Oh, hello. Bundle up. Nighttime is coming." Now the cricket did not listen, because crickets do whatever they want to do. He flew up into a pine tree to settle down for a good sleep. He did this quickly because he is such an incredibly fast and fancy flyer. The owl came flying over to the same branch. "You should find some shelter from the cold tonight," said the owl. The cricket, of course, did not listen, because crickets do whatever they want. He decided to rest on a pile of twigs. He was sleepier than he had ever been before, probably from all that remarkably fast and fancy flying. The cricket slept all through the night until morning. When he woke up, he was ready to go home and tell the ant about his trip. He hopped high into the air to start flying, but he couldn't. Instead, he fell right back into the snow. He hopped again, even higher this time, but his wings would not work. They had frozen solid during the cold night. He tried to warm them up by rubbing them together, but it was no use. The cricket had to hop all the way home. It took him days and days and days to return. By the time he got back, his wings had almost become unfrozen. When he rubbed them together this time, they made a chirping noise that no one in the forest had ever heard before. And every time he rubbed his wings together, they chirped a little bit louder and got a little less frozen. It is important to know, dear reader, that wings are special and fragile things. This is why the greatest care should always be taken around them. They are not meant to be frozen, but once they are, they may never be the same again. Even though the cricket's wings were never frozen anymore, he still could not fly. And ever since then, the cricket stays on the ground, like his friend the ant, and hops from place to place instead of flying. And now the cricket is the fastest and fanciest hopper there is. And at nighttime, You can hear him chirping from rubbing his wings together to keep warm. But he's doing actually a little bit more than just that. The cricket is telling you how warm or cold it is by his chirping. He chirps faster when it is warm and slower when it is cold. This way, you will not make the same mistake that he did. However, that is only if you decide to listen. Now, we know that the cricket didn't listen. And look what happened to him. Now, there is a story, another story, or actually it's probably a fact. It's called Dobar's Law, and it states and says that if you count the number of times a cricket chirps in 15 seconds and add the number 40 to it, it will give you roughly the temperature in degrees at where the cricket is at. Now, isn't that interesting? Well, that is the story of why the cricket chirps now and why he doesn't fly long distances and is only a magnificent hopper now. Oh, I hope you enjoyed that story. We're going to have some more a little bit later for you. And I hope you enjoyed the animation that went with the story. Now remember, while we're working at home, doing our schoolwork, and trying to be safe and healthy, we're going to wash our hands, we're going to listen to the grown-ups, we're going to try to keep our distance from people, and we're not going to touch our faces. That's very important to try to keep us healthy. That's why the grown-ups may be acting a little unusual right now. They're all about keeping you safe and healthy. So don't worry about it. It's all good stuff. So until we talk again, and we have another story, this is Mr. Scott telling you, keep washing the hands, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.